Hi YouTubers, this is your friendly neighborhood reviewer Evelyn. So we're reviewing another K-drama series. Just finished watching The Veil. It was a 12-part episode. So the main actor I really liked. He did the other TV show Dr. Prisoner, and he did another one about him managing a baseball team. So Nam Guk-min. In this case he plays secret agent, special agent for the NIS, could be the CIA for Korea, God knows, and he plays Han Ji-hyuk, which I had it memorized into my head, where him and his team go into a mission and something ends up happening, and then we get the flash forward scene where he ends up coming back on the boat with long hair, big beard, and claiming he doesn't remember a year of his life. He took something which made his memory disappear. So the big mystery about the scene was that there's a spy or a mole within the NIS, the National Intelligence Service. Actually, let's Wikipedia see if such a thing exists like this. So the National Intelligence Service, the agency was officially established in 1968 as the Korean Central Intelligence Agency. Interesting. So such a thing does exist. So the whole premise was that there's a mole in the NIS and we have to find out what led to his colleague's death, because it showed that Han Ji-hyuk and his other two colleagues were on a mission in China to kill some drug dealers. Something happened and two of his colleagues ended up dying. And he comes back after with no memory of who he is. And a lot of things were implied because the actor Nam Guk-min, he got bigger for the role, you know, muscle and all that kind of stuff. Maybe I'll put here before and after of how he looked before and how he looks now. The first episode was good, there was action and stuff. However, I don't know whether it was the actor Nam Guk-min feeling a bit uncomfortable in being in a larger body, but there was so much of this tension in his acting which I just wanted him to unclench himself a little bit. And they applied a lot of things that he came back with, you know, drugs in his system. It's very interesting how Korea tackles drugs in a kind of weird way. It's like in the episodes they imply and apply, they don't directly, you know, do anything, or they show after the fact that there's drugs there and he's like out of his head. So the premise of the first episode was that he comes back on the boat, they identify him, and even he has no idea what's going on because he doesn't remember a year of his life. So he starts to get reintegrated back into the agency. And by the end of, I can't remember if it was the first or second, because it took quite a bit of time just to watch the 12 episodes, that he finds out that he gets a video clip of himself before his memory got erased, saying that he went and erased his whole memory and he needs to find the mole, the rat in the agency. So the problem with this series was a bit too ambitious, because it was a bit ridiculous that they had this montage shot of the character Han Ji-hyuk like in the gym pumping iron. I'm like thinking this looks really weird all of a sudden. Like maybe a bit different if he came back and he was like severely underway and they showed like a time lapse of him like recuperating. I could understand that, but I'll probably insert a picture of how they find him in the boat. Just, you know, you could see the body transformation there, the guy extremely ripped, you know, the six-pack and everything. So that bit was just, you know, really funny and like, you know, a little bit embarrassing. I'm like, they tried to make it like a serious thriller. And when I first saw the first episode, I compared it to Born Identity, you know, like, yeah, there's the similarities there, like with Jason Bourne, he lost his memory. Han Ji-hyuk, yeah, he didn't lose all his memory, but he lost a year of his life. So as the series progresses, you know, in these Korean shows, they have to have some like the female character, a colleague, or like a partnership to kind of like humanize the character. Because Han Ji-hyuk, he does his acting through his eyes, the intensity, but apart from that, he doesn't really give away anything throughout the series. So there's many moving parts in the series here, because we have the other characters here. For the life of me, can't tell the difference. So we have one of the main bad guys, Lee In-hwan, of the other bureau, the Domestic Intelligence Bureau, and then we have see if I get enough picture here. Oh yeah, and then we have Jang Yoo-nam, who plays Do Jin-suk, the leader of the Foreign Intelligence Bureau. So we just all these moving parts within the series where we don't know who's the betrayer, who did that, and then we get the introduction of Ji-eun, who's the actor is Kim Ji-eun, where she integrates herself into the vicinity of the main guy Han Ji-euk, and she came from being an analyst, and then we don't know what's her motive. Like she's there, she becomes partners with Han Ji-euk, Ji, the character. And she's there to humanize the character, Nam-guk Min's kind of like persona, because if it was just him, the whole 12 episodes would have been, it would have been a real pain just to get through it. And then that's the part I think was the most interesting part is, each episode your heart kind of breaks out for Han Ji-euk that none of this was really his fault. He had some other trauma in his childhood. And that's the other thing, they skipped over the trauma bit. And then a lot of it was implied, kind of felt sorry for him. The critical moment was in episode 6, or no, episode 6 or 10, I can't remember, where Han Ji-euk is shot, stabbed, beaten up, and then after being accused of killing one of the other colleagues, which was Soo-yeon, which was part of the original team, and one of the team members that died was her fiance. And after that, she was about to confess stuff to Han Ji-euk, and she ended up getting shot. And they go and doctored the footage, making believe that Han Ji-euk went and shot Soo-yeon. So when Han Ji-euk goes to what's the other woman's name? Yoo-jae's place. It's that moment he finally kind of unclenches when she asks him, "Did you kill her? Did you kill Soo-yeon?" He's like, "I don't know." You can finally see him just letting go a little bit of this whole tension that he's been carrying through each episode. And then we kind of see the kind of interaction between both of them a little bit, because they have throughout the episodes they have their conversations, they're talking and stuff, and it's a bit of harmonious relationship where she kind of pushes him to be a bit more open, to be more she treats him like a person, but the rest of the people in the series treat Han Ji-euk as a bomb that's waiting to go off at any moment. And a lot of things, and a lot of other things, get implied that, I keep on saying implied, you kind of want to see more emotions coming out from Han Ji-euk. So as the series progresses, typically we have the bad guys and so on, and then they have this. Then we discover an anonymous group called, for the life of me, Samyeon. If somebody can tell me how to properly pronounce this secret organization, Samyeon, where there's these a group of God knows. Behind the shadows, this group of men controlling the politics, disappearing people, controlling the law, and that's the bit, and that's one aspect of the series that they didn't really resolve at the end in episode 12. It was implied, it kind of reminds me of Dr. Prisoner, where Dr. Prisoner was really great series, and the last episode implied for season 2, which. Typical Korean shows, they don't come through with it, so it's season 2 there isn't any. And we had of the almost group Samyeon, but the bigger thing was Yoo-jae, her past, her dad. The reason that she wanted to go in and work with Han Ji-euk was to find out what happened to her dad. Her dad also disappeared like Han Ji-euk, and she didn't know. And then other people in the agency, the other character of Kang Pil-ho, the mentor of Han Ji-euk, went and told her that her dad was kidnapped. I think it was in China or North Korea, but anyway, it was in China, and he was tortured. Probably he changed his face. Something happened to him, and then it got later revealed that one of the main evil guys that's wanting to get revenge for what the agency did to him, leaving him alone. That he had his name called Bemosa. Baekmosa. Apparently, like, he's a master manipulator and all of that, and he wants to destroy the whole system because, you know, obviously by episode 12 something big has to happen for it to close up all, you know, all ends. And by episode 12 he's establishing that he wants to destroy, you know, the banking system. He wants to kill off the hostages. He wants to show the public that the government doesn't care about people, only cares about, you know, money and wealth and all that kind of stuff. But then there's the other component where Yoo-ji like knows that she could stop her dad psychologically, but then again she understands that if it's not him, it's not really her dad of his. Well, we established it's implied that he's the dad, because the dad, they go and explain the dad, you know, psychologically, you know, went and had to like disassociate himself from his identity, and he ended up killing his other colleague that was together while they were being tortured. So he just couldn't handle that psychologically, and he broke off. And he broke off. So towards the end, you know, Han Ji-euk, he saves the day. He's the muscle. He ends up destroying everybody. He ends up saving the hostages, and he ends up getting, you know, that's the poor thing, shot in the knee. And he's just holding this detonator that this guy threatens, Baekmo-san threatens to, like, you know, blow off. And then it turns out to be the detonator wasn't a detonator. It was there to stop the bomb, because the reason the guy had a change of heart was Yoo-ji went and, you know, did a risk where she put herself where the hostages were, and to see whether her own dad would, you know, basically kill her as well. So the funny part is when, like, Han Ji is holding the detonator, and there's the other people in the other comms saying, you know, like, let's wait, and then you have the other guy, this other boss guy, I can't remember, like, well, his name has eluded me, but I've seen this old guy in other K-dramas, you know, being either the grandfather or, you know, like the antagonist, the boss. And then they go and shot Han Ji-euk right in the, I think, in the shoulder, but he manages to press on the detonator to stop the bombs going off. And I'm just thinking to myself, this poor guy, he's done nothing wrong, really. It's like, oh, and the biggest shock in episode 9 was, you know, essentially he ended up accidentally, like, the colleagues ended up killing each other because they ended up finding out in the flashbacks that this snitch that they had went and told them that the information about the team was being leaked, that somebody within the team was leaking information about Han Ji-euk's group. And he said, and he went and found this out from the recording that he gave to himself before his memory got erased. And when he found that out, he was just like devastated that they basically just killed each other. It was down to assumptions and stuff. And one of the guys, the biggest problem from this series was there was a very weird kind of like pacing and editing. Like, you went from something like very emotional to, they changed to a scene where you just, you know, emotionally they just didn't go with it. It wasn't that cohesive. And so that was basically it, that, you know, this whole mystery of who killed them was, okay, the mole, like, it all started when they found out that information was being leaked, but they essentially killed each other due to suspicion. And that's the part where we found out that Han Ji-euk couldn't take it psychologically, and he ended up going crazy, you know, implied that he became a heroin addict. And then the only choice that he had left was to use himself. But then again, that was a good thing. That's a good thing that he did. Actually, a smart thing. Like, for him to find out who's the mole, like, he erases his memory, and the bad people, of course, he's going back into the agency. They wouldn't, like, they'll be suspicious, but they were like trying to find out what he remembers or what doesn't he remember. Well, this episode was this video was particularly hard to explain because there was so many moving parts. I tried my best to make it as cohesive as possible. I'm gonna probably edit this video, maybe chop off the bits where I'm like thinking too much, a lot of silence in between. Okay, so on this series, I give it 3 out of 5, and at the end it implied again that it could be a season 2, because the secret organization Samyong, that wasn't resolved at all. It was still out there, and the only thing that Han Ji-euk was able to do at the end was publicly broadcast that there's an organization there working behind the scenes, you know, corrupting people, you know, corruption of the law, justice. And then at the end where, you know, we get the epilogue, like, don't know, I think it was 5 years later. No, not 5 years. I think it was 5 months later that Han-jook gets released. They say released, but from where? That's the thing that annoyed me. Where did he get released from? I think maybe it was from a rehabilitation center, for him to get, psychologically assessed, for him to get clean, for him to like recuperate. And then we see at the end as well that he has the letters that Ji went and sent him. It looks like he never opened them, but he started to open them when he got a little bit of what she was sending him. If there is a season 2, well, from some things I saw on the internet, they could do a spin-off what happened 4 years before, but I don't want that. I would rather have a season 2. The season 2 should be better, more edited, and they should close off the Samwon thing, and they should have Han-jook get together with Ji, because the guy needs some love. He needs a good woman in his life. But anyway, YouTube, this is 15 minutes long already. Probably I'll edit it down. Hopefully it makes sense. But I give this series 3 out of 5. Anyway, see ya!